Welcome to logbook number 9. The date is April 11th, 2019. Today's topic is a simple one. It is on calls versus text. Now, if you know me, you would know that my status on WhatsApp says, if you can text, don't call. And that applies to everything, casual chats, business, or like work. I am the type of person who actually prefers text over calls. I don't like listening to my own voice, so I assume that people would hate listening to my voice on the phone. And then second is that at home I don't really have privacy. I don't have my own room, and then if I have a conversation on the phone with someone, the chances of my family members overhearing that conversation would be pretty high, and I don't want that to happen. And then the third is that it's just calls take up too much of my attention. So if you're talking about something that is not really urgent and you want me to call you, and then I do, by the time we finish the conversation, I would have forgotten about it already. So I have like a really bad memory. So I actually would prefer to text. And if you like text, and if we're talking about business or work, if you text and then you forget, you could just scroll up and like find the history, or like search the keyword, and then you can show it as proof of whatever you're talking about. So chats in that way come in really, really handy. Oh, I cannot focus on two things at once. So maybe those of you who have hung out with me, you notice that if you're talking and then I'm on the phone, I would ask you to stop first and let me like reply to my chats and then have you continue your story. That's because I cannot type something while listening to someone else. Either I would type incorrectly, or I would type and then not listen to the person talking to me. If I had to take a call, that means I have to stop whatever I'm doing and focus on the call, and I can't do that. So calling versus texting is like a matter of preference, I would say. I think a really close friend of mine also prefers text over call. So whenever she calls, that means there's something really, really urgent, and then I have to take the call. I don't know. Like I said, when I'm talking to someone on the phone, I can't do anything else because I feel like I would be neglecting the person I'm calling. And then when you're calling someone, it's like you're pressured to actually reply at that exact moment. So if you wanna, it's hard to be careful with your words if you're speaking compared to when you're typing something or when you're writing something. There's actually this one time where this production manager of a production house kept calling me even though I said I cannot take calls. And then when I did take his call, it was actually something that he could have said on a text. So I was like, bitch, did you not read my status? I didn't say that to him, obviously. It's better to just assume that people won't remember instead of calling and then thinking that calling is more effective and it saves a lot of your time, but then the person who you call doesn't remember and then you have to remind them again, and then in the end it's more effective to just text. Now that you know, please do not call me unless someone is dying. Unless something is very, very urgent. So just text. And I'm the type who actually replies really fast if you text me, whether that's WhatsApp or Line or Telegram. If you text me, most of the 80% of the time I will reply within a minute. If not, probably 5 minutes. If not, then probably 10 minutes. If I don't reply more than an hour, probably I am in class, I am teaching, or I am working on something else, or I am sleeping. But other than that, most of the time I would reply to you. And then if I'm not doing all of those four and then I still don't reply to you, that means I just don't want to reply to your text. No, when you're communicating to someone, you really need to know their type, their preference. Like if you're, for example, if you're approaching someone, or like you're you're trying to get close to someone, you really need to know their preference. I do have a friend who is really, really boring when you text him, but then when you actually meet him in real life, he's the clown of the group. And then you could tell, you couldn't really tell how people are from text. I personally think that I'm the same person in text and then in real life, but then there are some people like that, like my friend. So in terms of like getting into a relationship and like getting close with someone, you really need to know, and then you really need to try both ways, calling and texting, and then ask which one they prefer. And then I think in some book that my friend recommended to me, the author of the book said that you should use calls and texts just as a way to actually schedule a meetup, instead of using the calls and texts as your main way of communication. Which makes sense, because interactions actually happen better in real life rather than through your phone or a medium. Before you actually approach or contact someone, make sure you know what their preference is, and then if you don't know, then it would be safer to just text them first, because then again, if we're talking about business and then you just call someone and then they don't have your number, there are high chances that they won't pick up your phone. So in the end, the conclusion, to sum up, texting is better. I think text first and see if you can call them, if it's really, really necessary. If not, then just text. Please do not call me if I say that I don't want to be called. It's not that hard, guys. You just need to read the status of people on WhatsApp and then, you know, observe their responses when you chat them. So I think that's all for today. Logbook number 9 is done. I'm signing out.